Yeah, no, some of it.
Good evening. This is Jennifer Millman, the interpreter. If you can please set me up for interpretation, that would be awesome. Thank you.
All right, hold on, we'll get you in just a second. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. Wait, hurry up and decide.
Hold on just a second, we're finishing up, getting our interpretation set. Let's start. Yep, all right, I think we're good.
All right, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. If we could have a roll call
Director Leach,
here.
Director Jeffries. Here. Director Stanisek.
Here.
Director Brown.
Here.
Thank you. We got quorum.
Awesome. If we could stand and we'll do the pledge. Ready to begin?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion?
Director Leach.
Aye.
Director Jeffries. Aye. Director Stanisek.
Aye.
Director Brown.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we have time for public comments. If you have a comment about anything that's not on the agenda, you can go ahead and speak for 5 minutes.
some new faces, which is, I think, sets the foundation also of why we're here tonight to talk about little history, why we are together as we are with the agreements we have. Some of the board was here when we originated, and many new faces are not. So I think it's important to understand the collaboration that has gone on throughout the years between the fire district and the health district. Before Chief in his position or Rachel in her position, the two districts have always been very collaborative. They were very collaborative even when there was a hospital here. The healthcare district has always supported the fire department. Many years ago, the health district helped put AEDs in this community. And those are the external defibrillator machines that you see in our grocery stores, at our golf courses, at our schools. And that's just one example. We've always supported one another in many ways. When the hospital closed in 2014, as the chief said, we realized we have to change something. So a little bit of about 10 slides here to help walk us through some of this, to help us just provide some history and a little bit about how we are doing today under the current conditions. So if we could go, can we, I can't see all of that. There's no way to change that vision with the bar on the left.
I'm sorry?
The video. Is there any way to move any of that so that I can see the PowerPoint
Yeah,
or minimize the screen a little bit? There you go, that perfect.
There we go.
Fantastic. So I want to start a little bit with about what California fire-based EMS is. So California fire-based EMS is basically, there's private ambulance service and there's public entity ambulance service, and then there's public-private partnership services. That's basically how the ambulance delivery model works in the state of California. We're governed by the state of California. All of our paramedics, all of our EMTs, the way we operate, everything's governed by the state of California down through the local county of San Diego EMS, and then delivered to us with what we can and can't do. And it starts with paramedic ambulance must transport to an ER. We're kind of antiquated in California. California is pretty slow to catch on to the community paramedicine development that's happened in other parts of the country. So our delivery model is very limited. That has a significant impact on our community because our hospitals are now Temecula Valley, Palomar, and Tri-City. Those are our main. There's some other ones in there that we go to, but as paramedics treating ALS patients, advanced cardiac life support, advanced life support patients, we have to go to an ER. We don't have any other choices. Once we get to the basic life support level, we have a few more options. So California is very slow to develop in the community paramedicine, which is providing an impact to all the California fire-based EMS delivery systems. We continue to have challenges with high-level urgent cares, the lack of them. We're talking about those Kaisers, those Sharps, those Scripps, those big urgent cares that can do a lot, but even they have their challenges. And then we have our challenges with patient access, customers getting access to their primary care physicians. So that is a problem across the nation, across the country, is access to healthcare, right? So all these things, and then all these things lead to people using 911 more than people should probably utilize 911. It's just the way it is. The last thing that came on that bottom of that slide is offload delays. Because of this problem across the country, you probably heard about it in the news and TVs and read the newspaper, anything, that the long offload delays in hospitals. We have paramedic ambulances that will sit at a hospital for hours. When I say hours, I mean sometimes 6 hours, waiting for a bed. So these are all problems that are happening that are outside of our control, but impacting our ability to deliver services to the community. So we can go to the next slide. And this is a little history about where we are today. So when the hospital closed in 2014, the fire district had to convert 9 firefighter paramedic positions to single role paramedic positions. What I mean by that is we used to have firefighter paramedics on all of our ambulances. When we went to a fire, they were firefighters. When we went to a medical aid call, they were paramedics. Because we now transport to Palomar, Tri-City, we're talking 15 miles and 20 miles or greater. And I'll show you some slides later with some data on that. It didn't make any sense for us to pay for a firefighting resource that wasn't ever in the district to actually fight fire. Okay, so we had to change our delivery model into what we call single role. That is the paramedic and an EMT. That's all they do is paramedicine and basic life support. They no longer can assist the community as a firefighter. So that was a significant change to our district. And then the single role paramedic program also came along with challenges, is it's a very young workforce. When you have single role paramedics, they're all fresh out of school. And that's just the nature of it. That's okay, but that's how they have to get the training so that they can go to the fire department job. So that caused us to have to hire a medical services officer, which is partly where your folks come in. As all this was unraveling, we had to wrap our heads around the community. We had to collaborate as two districts because our mission was to continue to provide good healthcare within this community. And as it defaults to the fire department, we had to hire this extra help to be able to make sure our onboarding was correct, our training was correct, our compliance. As an EMS provider, we have to do 100% audit of all of our documentation. Anytime we touch a patient, there's a care report. That care report has to be audited 100%. So that's what that nurse does. Nurse handles all of our onboarding, nurse handles all of our education. Every paramedic is required to get 2 hours of continuing education every month, same as the EMT, they all are. So, and that's department wide. So all of us have to get this ongoing education every month, and we need an educator to provide that to us. So high level turnover, that workforce is very high level turnover. I have some slides that we'll get to on that. Vehicles. New model, we used to buy ambulances every 5 years. Now we buy ambulance every year. Our ambulances do 50,000 miles a year. I do not have an ambulance on the road right now due to COVID that has less than 200,000 miles on it because I couldn't get any ambulances during COVID. I can't order an ambulance today. I have 3 on order that have been on order for 18 to 24 months. So ambulance mileage is a problem. So we burn through ambulances as fast as we can. We used to run diesel ambulances. They were too expensive to do to what we're doing. We switched to gasoline. We're doing much better with that. It's lowered our cost, which has been good. So you all help us very much with the half purchase of those ambulances. And as you saw on the slide, we brand them with you. So our brand, your branding is on those ambulances. The community, there's no doubt the community knows that the health district is providing services through ambulance delivery, which is really nice. Just good use, our collaboration, I believe, Kevin believes, is just good use of local government. We're not a city, we're a community. And we have water districts, and we have health districts, and we have fire districts, and we have foundations. And it's just good that we all can come together and act like a city and put our governments together. It's good. I think it's wise spend for the community, the taxpayer, and I think it helps us be more effective in what we do. So I really think that's a great thing that we have going on. And like the chief said, we have a common mission. It's to provide healthcare to this community in one form or another, and ensure they have access to healthcare. We're not providing, we provide healthcare. We provide paramedicine, and that you all don't, but you help provide access to that. And by collaborating with us and maintaining agreements with us and helping us do the best we can do, you're continuing to ensure that all of our residents have good access to emergency healthcare and ultimately get them to their destination where they will get long-term healthcare. Next slide. So that's the kind of history and the foundation of how we got to where we got, starting way back when in 2014. New faces changed, and we had our board was very long-standing board at the time, and we didn't have to have these ongoing conversations. We all went through new elections, and we all have new faces, and it's just good that we get together and remember, how did we get to where we are, and why are we doing what we're doing? And that's kind of what we're here to do. So here's just a few fun stats. So our call volume in 2014 was
4,700.
Yeah, can't remember, 4,780 calls per year, and we transported 2265 of those people. Today in 2022, we ran 7,000 calls and we transported 3,451 people out of the community. So you can see the increase that's had 47%, 52% increase in transports. So that's pretty significant. That's a lot of demand. We haven't changed services at all. We're still running the same 5 fire engines and the same 3 ambulances we were in 2014. Next slide. So here's some what our looks like. Out of 7,009 calls, 3,400 transports, 83% of what we do is medical, 10% fire. These alarms are just miscellaneous alarms. Rescues are specific to rescues. Vehicle accidents come in as medical. And then just a combination of other little things that we do in the community. So I thought that would be interesting for you to see. 83% of what we do daily, we're a fire department. 83% of what we do daily is medical services. So we're really a fire and EMS. We're really a fire medical. A lot of fire departments are changing their name away from fire department because we only do 10% fire. Next. So this talks a little bit about a utilization rate. A utilization rate on an ambulance is basically its call volume divided amount of hours it's available for service. That gives you a number. So Medic 111 is our ambulance downtown. Medic 114 is our ambulance out of Station 4. And Medic 115 is our ambulance out of our Station 5. They're all 24-hour ambulances. They run a single role paramedic and EMT 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You can see that this is some numbers that we used on here. This is from actually last month. Medic 111 was at 37% utilization, 24 for Medic 114 and 28% for Medic 115. When you get to that 35, you get about that 35, you have to start to shout, watch out in the fire-based EMS. Now, a private EMS ambulance, they can run upwards of 50% utilization. They still need to sleep, they still need to eat, they still need their breaks. In a fire-based EMS, there's even more involved training. We have training every day. Like I said, that 2 hours. There's physical fitness standards that they have to do. There's other things that are associated that we can't work our people to the bone and not get them well rested. So that's why when you get to this, so we have a little bit of a problem here downtown Fallbrook we need to address here soon. Next slide. Ambulance destinations, just another fun fact, 50% of the folks out of this community that we're transporting are going to Temecula Valley, 40% are going to Palomar Hospital, and the other 10% are going to Tri-City and other surrounding hospitals. So as you can see, a bulk of our residents are going for their health care across the border, across the county line. Next slide. Transport times. So in 2014, we could turn around an ambulance in 45 minutes, meaning from the time they got the call, by the time they drove to the call, by the time they assessed the patient, put the patient in an ambulance, drove the patient to the hospital, and they were back available in the district for the next call was 45 minutes. Today, that same turnaround is 90 minutes. So again, the reason why our ambulances have high utilization times and they're gone all the time. So many times, as the chief said, we are asking our neighbors to come help us for calls, and we go help them too. So it's not a one-way street, but it's happened. Next one. This is just a little back. We're still running the same ambulances, the same 3 ambulances. The 50,000 miles a year, like I told you. So it's a big impact on the units that the ambulance 911 impact. Next slide. So, you just saw that 37% utilization rate always downtown. It's always running between 35 and 37. It's a monthly snapshot. Some months are busier than others. We're going to have to do something here in town. So Chief and I, before I retire, we're going to start looking at how we can add another resource into the community to ensure that we don't have excessive response times and that our community gets the care they need as fast as they can. We still have engines that get on scene and stop the clock, but we need those ambulances to transport, especially if they're an acute patient. They can't wait around a long time for an ambulance to come out of the city of Oceanside or the city of Vista. So we have to do something. So we're probably going to be looking at adding an additional ambulance here, probably in the fiscal year. I think the next fiscal year. An ambulance today to buy brand new is $295. I heard you just probably heard we had an unfortunate accident where one of our ambulances was totaled Christmas Eve, and to replace that ambulance is going to cost us $295,000. So moving forward, as with everything that you're buying, your groceries, your everything, our expenses are up too. So that's a significant increase in the cost of an ambulance. To add a new ambulance, the personnel costs alone to add that new ambulance is going to be about $500,000 a year. So as you can see, it's very expensive to do what we do. So again, the partnership is very well appreciated. Next. This is just a little stat about our single role problem. And I talked about it being a very high turnover. They're all out of school. They're making steps. They're going to paramedic school. They start out with us as EMTs. They go to paramedic school. Paramedic school is a year-long program. They come out of paramedic school, they need to get a certain amount of hours before they can go on to their next step. Most of them want to be firefighter paramedics. You can go anywhere you want in the state of California right now and become a firefighter paramedic with just a minimal time on as a paramedic. That wasn't the case when Chief and I got hired. We had to compete hundreds of people for one job. Today, we're luckily if we get 6 people for 3 jobs. So they're leaving very quickly. So just a fun stat. We have 28 current single roles on staff. On average, we hire 17 new ones a year. So that's a 48% turnover rate. And that is getting them uniforms, getting them onboarded, getting them trained, getting them all up to speed. And look how many leave within 6 months. And they resign, not because they don't like the job, they're going on, they're moving up. So we hire a lot of them. We turn them into firefighter paramedics. We turn our EMTs to paramedics, we turn our paramedics into firefighter paramedics. So some of this is us moving them up through the system. So anyway, just some interesting stats there for you to see how much volume this is a monster. Our single role program, we're basically running a private ambulance service within the fire department, and it is a monster to feed. When you have firefighter paramedics that sign on for a 30-year career, and you're only replacing them as folks retire, we generally only hire, we have a retirement a year. So sometimes we'll go 3 or 4 years without a retirement. Sometimes we'll have 3 retire in a year. But that's the only time we used to replace people. And now we're replacing 48% of our EMS workforce every year. Next. Oh, okay, so the last slide. So I hope that helped the new board and refresh the old board, kind of why we're doing what we're doing, how we got to where we got, and what we're feeling out there today in the world. And I will be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, so utilization, your stats as compared to other North County departments, are they about the same?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so everybody's facing that.
Absolutely. City of Vista, City of Oceanside have been adding, City of Vista's looking deeply at added resources. They have 4 ambulances now, and they're all above 35%. Oceanside is all above, they're adding, they just added 2 or 3 ambulances in this last fiscal year. So all the communities are adding resources.
So your other one was the, just the growth of the need. Is that meeting population growth or both? Is it here in Fallbrook area? Is that all the demographic?
It's all the above, and it's happening. It's not just isolated to Fallbrook. There's lots that goes into that. It's access to healthcare,
Right.
and that's just not a Fallbrook problem. That's an everywhere problem. What if they can't get their doctor on the phone? If they can't get a telehealth, if they can't get something, then we're the default. And so that increases that. And then yes, aging population, more traffic. Traffic leads to traffic accidents. Rain leads to that. Fire, everything we do leads to more 911 calls. Anything that happens in the environment leads to more. So it's all that.
One more. Cross-boundary call penetration, I guess, I don't know how else to call it.
Boundary drop.
Boundary drop.
Yeah, so
Closest resource.
percent of what we're covering our own versus where we need the help coming in. Do you have a sense for kind of what that looks like?
Yeah, I didn't put that on there. Maybe I should have. We do have exact numbers. We know exactly how much aid we receive. Percentage wise, I can't tell you off the top of my head. But we receive aid about 1,000 times a year. So now 7,000 calls, we get, they aided 1,000 times. So
Okay.
And we get most of our ambulance aid from the city of Vista. Paula has an ambulance, Deer Springs has an ambulance, Oceanside has an ambulance. Fallbrook is a bit of a cul-de-sac, and I know you already know that, but we don't really have much help from the west, although Pendleton, great neighbors, and they send their engine over here all the time. We don't have a boundary drop with their ambulance system, and so we have really no ambulance service from the west, nothing from the north, and really nothing from the east, except maybe out in Paula. So all of our auto aid comes from that way. And we serve all the way out to the Riverside County line paramedic services. And so you can imagine being at Vista Station 6, downtown Vista, or the Oceanside station in the valley, and being dispatched to the 55 million mile marker of Duluth Road. And that's a long drive. That's a 45-minute drive just to get to the call. And so, it is vitally important. that our paramedics are providing the services that this community needs. We are the emergency caregivers after hours. If someone's having a heart attack or a stroke or a diabetic emergency or a childbirth or a serious vehicle accident or whatever, we are the first line of defense, and you are all helping us deliver that emergency care service to this community. We are the emergency providers for the community of Fallbrook, Bonesville, and Rainbow. The next closest would be throwing somebody in a car and driving them to Temecula or to Escondido. So
Chief brings up a good point to expand a little bit on, is that your district expands out into Duluth. Our district stops. But because we are the closest, most logical service provider, it defaults to us. So those folks aren't part of our tax base, but we continue to provide them service. And we're okay doing that because we know it's the right thing to do. But they are providing, within your district. And so we are servicing those folks happily by default.
So we know you have more business to get to tonight, not just us, but any other questions for us this evening? You're always welcome, folks, to stop by our fire admin. We're right down on Main Street next to Scrappy's Tires. Come on down and say hello to Kevin and I. Kevin will be retiring in July, but I'll be sticking around for a while. So come on down anytime, say hello. I invite you to visit our website, ncfire.org. We just posted our 2022 year-end report. If you're a statistics person and you enjoy statistics like Kevin does, and he's our ops chief too, visit our end of the year report. Also social media, Facebook, Instagram, and for most up-to-date immediate almost emergency information, Twitter. And if you don't have any of those social media platforms, log onto our website, and we post all of our latest posts on our website. You don't need credentials to get logged into an account. We just post our stuff there, so you don't even need a Facebook or Twitter account to get to our latest information. So visit our website, ncfire.org. With that, thank you for letting us hijack the first half hour of your meeting tonight. And,
I know Rachel's mad. I told her 10 minutes, but she knows how I get. She knows how I get.
If I told him 15, you'd still be here for 45.
She knows I've been very passionate about this for a long time, and it probably comes to my heart of serving the operations of the emergency services community. But I'm passionate about it, passionate about serving. And Chief just reminded me, Director Steineck, is in our board packet, I produced an ops report. In that ops report is detailed information about how much aid we receive and give out of the community. And you can always get that out of our board packet.
Kevin's been a big part of the EMS. He's worked here for 30 years. He's going to be retiring in July. I'd like to give him a round of applause. He's provided a lot of.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Good. Next up, we have another presentation. Go ahead.
Okay, well, Bianca and I are really excited to be able to address the board about what we've been working on in a little more detail. You've heard me talk about the lifestyle change program, this diabetes prevention program, and I'm excited about the opportunity it is to elevate the district and really show our concern and commitment to a really prevalent health need in the community. So just to take a minute to step back and why this program was chosen, this was what came out of the work we did with Catalyst, looking at the health data, looking at what's available in the community and what the needs are. And that report actually had diabetes, meaning pre-diabetes and diabetes, as the #1 health concern for our area. So this program really gives us the opportunity to impact the health in a very real way. It also gives us a chance to elevate the district in that the program that Bianca is bringing forward is a full CDC approved program. So what it says about us to earn that ranking and keep that ranking for what we're all about and the type and level of care we're providing to the community is something to keep in mind. Just to give you an example with pre-diabetes, it's 1 in 3 people right now have pre-diabetes, and 8 in 10 don't even realize that they have the pre-diabetes. So I think over time, a commitment to a program like this if we look out a number of years, we could have measurable results of how we impacted the community and hopefully have a lower incidence of diabetes in our community based off the averages in surrounding areas because of work like this and work that where we're partnering with other organizations in town that are addressing these needs as well. And so that's my little bit of the background. So I'll turn it over to Bianca, just about what's happening with the program.
Well, I'm very excited to share with the board what has been going on over the past month and a half, 2 months. I mean, we've been planning this for a lot longer, but really made some major efforts in launching the program. As of 5 o'clock today, we've had over 38 interested people within our area of Fallbrook, Bonsall, Duluth, and Rainbow. And those are the people who contacted us. Oftentimes you'll have people that are contacting saying they would like to do this with their spouse or with their child. And so those are our primary contacts as of 5 o'clock today. On March 28th, we sent out an email blast to all of our contact list. And it was one of those mornings where I started getting pinged, and it was like Las Vegas. I got a little bit nervous because it was like, bing, you got a message, bing, 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 bing. And I was quickly scrolling away. I've also had an opportunity to speak directly with the participants, and there's an overwhelming expression of gratitude. A lot of them learned about the Fallbrook Regional Health District through COVID efforts. And for they to have looked online at all the other kinds of programs that are out there, the fact that this is an evidence-based program is really providing an assured stance. I mean, that it's coming from the Fallbrook Regional Health District. They're very confident in choosing this program. I think what really makes this program stand out is it really, in addition to having a very awesome curriculum, it also builds on the camaraderie that the participants get to experience and bypass a lot of the possible shame or feeling that they did something wrong. And this is something that I think is so beautifully effective in this particular program. We've kind of reached out to a number, we reach out in a number of ways, including our newsletter, medical referrals, website, word of mouth. I've also had a few coffee talks, which we also serve tea. And we've had a few coffee talks where I've been able to meet directly with the prospective participants in the program, and those have been very well received. And then also we have our social media. We put out some blasts on the coffee talks, and a lot of people are learning about the program through our social media. I'm very excited about that. What I'm also very excited about is we're starting to get an influx of referrals from our medical practitioners here in our area. And this is really what I'm excited about. In our conversations with the medical practitioners, when we ask the question, how many of your patients, like roundabout, how many of them actually have pre-diabetes? More than one, more than two actually respond, probably about 50% of the people we see. And that was astonishing. And now that we're getting this ball rolling, we're starting to get more referrals. And one of the things I definitely plan to do is maintain those communications. And Teresa and I maintain those communications and show the practitioners here just how effective this program is, so that they can also provide us more referrals, for the coming cohorts, over the next few years. And so I'm very excited about this program. We are launching on April 25th. We are doing a soft launch for the first 3 weeks. People are, they're getting, ready to prepare themselves for the program. So over the first 3 weeks, we'll allow people to go and come. And then by the 4th week, we're ready to go. And so if you have any questions around the details of the program, by all means, feel free to ask. But I'm very excited to present it to you, and I'm very proud of this program and looking forward to the effectiveness of it.
Any questions? Oh, all good.
I really appreciate the way Bianca and Teresa really appreciate the way you're going for the guts of it, which is medical community. They are going to be our pipeline, and then our successful people who will talk about it. And I know, Bianca, from watching you at the collaborative, that you're just putting your whole heart into this, and it feels like it's gonna pay off, and we'll see soon. So thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
Good job. Can you maybe just go into a little bit more detail about what the program entails and some of the stuff that you guys are teaching some of the participants?
Yes, so the program itself is technically 1 year long. The CDC requires 24 hours of actual education. What makes this program different is this is a lifestyle change program. And what that means is we're looking at all aspects of wellness, from, you know, stress, anxiety, sleep patterns, movement, how we relate to our food, how we cook our food. We're also going to be leveraging the fact that we, you know, live in an amazing area and we have some beautiful hiking paths. So in addition to providing the curriculum and based off of the interest level and the excitement of the participants, giving them an option to say, let's go on a walk, you know, or let's, you know, hey, meet me over at this restaurant. I'm going to show you how to order when you go out to eat at one of our awesome restaurants here. I have a number of people that are like, can we do the fox, you know, the fox, I'm sorry, the turkey trot. I say fox trot. I'm like, sorry. And so really getting us out there, you know, in the community. But the curriculum on when people arrive, we are setting up, when people arrive, we go over what last week's goals were and their accomplishments. We go over, you know, providing them the actual topic of education. We set goals for the next time. When people first arrive, they are actually documenting their particular, they're doing screening. They're screening themselves from, you know, their body weight and tracking that information. You know, as we start to progress through the program, that information will eventually, you know, go back to the CDC so that they can actually see that we are doing what we're supposed to be doing and very successful.
Awesome. Well, I would just agree with Director Jeffries. I think it's really great to see the passion that you both have and the work that you guys are doing with the program. So really excited to see the launch and to hear about more of the data for sure. Thank you.
Let me ask you a question, if I may. Are we partnering with any of the physicians here in Fallbrook with regard to our program, and are they supporting us? Are they referring some of their patients to us to get in the program?
Yes. Currently, our supporting organizations are Graybill Medical Group. We also have Dr. Peter Strutz, Ranch Family Medical Group in Fallbrook, and Fallbrook Village Pharmacy.
So we've gone out and done like lunch and learn type presentations to the doctors. They are receiving, we're trying to stay in touch with them over time. So this week they're receiving posters to put up, those that will allow us in the waiting rooms. We've already given them patient handouts, referral forms. There's a page on our website that also allows other organizations. So if some of our grantees or other organizations wanted to refer a person to the program, they can do that through our website, along with like a one-pager sheet about the program for the physicians. And just last night, I took a call. Bianca had her coffee talk, and I was like, "Oh, the phone rang! I better get it." I was there a few minutes later, and it was one of Dr. Whitman being referred to the program.
Okay.
So, and what people are saying, this referral was interesting because she was asking, "What can I do? I need to do something. Is there a nutritionist? Is there somebody I can go see?" And they went, "Oh yeah, there's this program." Because there really aren't a lot of resources in Fallbrook. We all know we're not close to a lot else. So it's a commitment if you were to go for some type of program or meeting with a nutritionist so far out of the area. And what makes a program so successful is in part the length of time, because it's a lifestyle change program. And so what data has shown is that when you look forward to our participants, when they finish a year from now, and we look forward 10 years from now, 50% of them will still not have had developed diabetes. That's how amazing this program is. When I first read through Catalyst and saw that stat from the one-page overview, and I got so excited about this program, it's like, where do you hear that?
Yeah.
That's like really phenomenal results. And that's why I think in years to come, if we decide to move forward and push this in a big way, you know, there's we really could have a significant impact. Because we're catching people also before they get diabetes. Remember, this is pre-diabetes, and if we decide to have a diabetes self-management, that was another thing called out by Catalyst. That would go hand in hand with the work we're doing with physicians now. Because a lot of them said, well, what about my diabetic patients? What about my Spanish speaking patients? We're like, well, we're just, starting down this path. This is our, our trial of doing something like that. So I think if we were able to show a level of commitment that physician groups would really engage. Because it goes from, well, we're trying this, I don't know when we're gonna have another cohort, to this is an ongoing thing. We do this every 6 months. We're, in for the long haul. That's a different conversation with those physician groups. Not that they haven't been very, very responsive, but it also is a different conversation with the community because now we're really building trust. We're not just one-offing it. Here's this lovely little thing I'm gonna dangle out that's gonna help you, then I'll, it might get snatched back, but it's a real commitment that will build trust, I believe, as well.
And are we able to open it to folks who might not be able to afford or be in a health plan of some sort? Is there some way to get them referred to us through a physician, even if they don't have any insurance or anything?
Absolutely.
It's free, right?
This first, we are not charging, we're not billing anybody
Right.
this first round. We're working it, we're working through this Skinny Dreams project, which I'm not crazy about the name, but the J. Moss Foundation, and they had a grant from the county that we kind of piggybacked on. And so they're providing all this training and education for us. Eventually that will stop and we'll have to make a decision about how to move forward. But right now they could assist us in the future where if we wanted to bill people with insurance, we could. This is a billable program and we could still decide to underwrite those who couldn't afford it.
I guess really where I was going with it is, are there folks that we would need to and want to support with some equipment, testing supplies and that sort of thing, but you're gonna have a physician involved, as I understand it, for a physician's order to be able to get those through the pharmacy. So I'm suggesting, do we have the mechanism in place to get the physician involved, even if there's not a payment involved or some kind of health plan? But we could certainly help with all the supplies. I'm diabetic, so I get it. That they would need to be able to at least remain healthy, or if they do transition over into an active diabetic, then you're gonna have all the supplies.
There's a number of protocols that follow through from this initial plan that will address all of those pieces. Because this is done through the pilot, the district falls under the umbrella of the J. Moss Foundation, the Skinny Jeans group. So they have all the data collection, they have the billing, they have the rest of those pieces. And we'll be able to potentially leverage all of those additional resources once we get past this first cohort.
Can I ask?
Absolutely.
Am I to understand that our cohort includes Scripps Diabetes, Sharp, UCLA, and Loma Linda?
No, ma'am, those are organizations that actually implement this specific program.
That's what I mean.
Oh,
They're doing this program?
they're doing this
Okay,
program.
so we are an incredibly cool company.
Yes.
Right? Because
Yes.
those are very flagship organizations and we're not a medical center or a hospital or a higher ed. We are a community organization. I think that is pretty cool. Thank you for figuring this out.
Catalyst. Catalyst report.
Catalyst brought it forward, and it was their #1 recommendation from the community needs assessment that they brought forward. But to Teresa's point, we also need to acknowledge that when Teresa came on board, we looked at that data, she made that a priority because it was the first thing called out. And I know that she has been working very hard with the J. Moss Foundation. And then obviously, as soon as we brought Bianca on, Dr. Water, both of them, and have really been able to get a lot of that training done. It takes a tremendous amount of staff time to get through those trainings and set up these protocols, meet with the physicians, create the network, get the word out to the community, do a lot of that education. So this is an intensive on-ramp, to use Jennifer's terms. But once we are on that on-ramp, we're in the express lanes, for sure.
Yay.
Very cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Yay.
Moving moving on to the consent items. Would any of the board members like to pull one of those items for further review? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve them in total?
So
So
moved. I'll second. Dr. Lee?
We don't get paid.
Aye. Director Stanica?
Aye.
Director Brown?
Aye.
Thank you.
I'm moving to G, reports, finance committee. Director Brown and Jeffries.
You bet. So do you want me to go ahead and just read the financial report that we did at the finance committee meeting?
If you want to, we also have, Bob Stoll from California Class. He's on Zoom. He is, he is D on your agenda, so I just want to let you know, he is also online with us. So as you're moving through your reports, you can decide if you want to move him before your reporting or after.
It's up to you.
It's your choice.
Let me just rip through the numbers and get them out of the way.
You got it.
And then we can go on. All right, so treasurer's report for the month of March, and as you know, we're going to be doing 2 periods this time because we didn't have one last month. So report number 1, balance sheet comparison for January versus December. January total liabilities and equity were $11,969,207 versus December at $11,921,643 for overall decrease of $47,000. Report number 2, income statement. Total net income for the month of December is positive at $112,707. It was due in large part to larger than budgeted apportionment and dividends. Report number 3, the profit and loss actual versus budget. Based on the approved budget, the district is over budget and year-to-date net income by $370,488. Report number 4, the approved annual budget for this fiscal year. There's no changes in the report. Report number 5, the LAIF account statement. LAIF posted $8,710 in quarterly interest earnings. The cost value is $1,616,147. With the fair market value of $1,586,069. The performance rate for this month of January was 2.425%. Report number 6, the CalTrust account statement. The cost basis for this account is $5,771,494. The district earned $12,439 in dividend income this month, and an unrealized gain of $34,453, bringing the portfolio's total value to $5,622,651. As of January 2023, the 1-year yield on the medium-term fund, where these funds are held or allocated, was 1.51%. Report 7, property tax revenue. The district accrued a tax apportionment of $86,736 for January. Report number 8, the check detail report. We did review that in the finance committee and didn't find anything extraordinary. Report number 9, the Visa statement. This report which lists all the charges made using the district credit card for the month of January. Again, we reviewed that and had discussions, and nothing was extraordinary. Report number 10, the community investment funds report for January. This report shows utilized funds invested in the community health and wellness, especially for the development of the property, including maintenance, repairs, permits, and consultants. For the third quarter to date, there was $3,850 spent. The investments of the district are in compliance with the district's 2022-23 investment policy. The balances in the district's investment accounts give the district the ability to meet its expenditure requirements for the next 18 months. And that's the end of the report for the March period. Questions? April. Report number 1. Okay, over there. Balance sheet comparison for January versus February. Total liabilities and equity for February were $11,786,542 versus January of $11,969,207. which reflects a decrease of $182,665. Report number 2. Income statement. The total net income for the month of February is a negative $185,517. This is due in large part to the capital improvement expenditures and the unearned unrealized loss from the Cal Trust investments. Report number 3. Profit and loss actual versus budget. Based upon the approved budget, the district is over budget in year-to-date net income by $224,923. Report number 4. The approved annual budget for 2022-23 fiscal year. There are no changes in the report. Report number 5. Leaf account statement. Leaf posted $0 in quarterly interest statements because it's not the quarterly period. The cost value is $1,616,147 with a fair market value of $1,585,578. The performance rate for the month of February was 2.624%. Report 6, the Cal Trust account statement. The cost basis for this account is $5,784,779. The district earned $13,285 in dividend income this month and an unrealized loss of $51,795, bringing the portfolio's total value to $5,584,142. As of February 2023, the 1-year yield on the medium-term fund where these funds are allocated was 1.72%. Report 7. Property tax revenue. The district accrued a tax apportionment of $59,693 for the month of February. Report 8, check detail report. This details the operating accounts, deposits, and disbursements for the district for February. We reviewed that in the finance committee meeting and found nothing extraordinary. Report number 9, the visa statement. This report lists all the charges made using the district credit card for the month of February. And again, we reviewed that and didn't find anything extraordinary. Report number 10, community investment funds reported for February. This report shows utilized funds invested in the district's real estate, primarily for the redevelopment of the community and health and wellness, including maintenance, repairs, permits, and consultants. For the third quarter to date, there was $54,100.41 spent. We're going to make a recommendation to the board to transfer $54,000 from the LAIF account to the operating account. Disclosures, the investments of the district are in compliance with the district's 2022-23 investment policy. The balances in the district's investment accounts give the district the ability to meet its expenditure requirements for the next 18 months. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you.
You bet.
Do we have any questions? See you then. We have a number of items here. With your report, do you want to present? Do we have the presentation for the audit report that we want to start out with? Okay.
Carrie, did you want to speak to anything specific to the audit report?
It was a long time in coming. I reviewed it. I'm not a CPA. We have CPAs here who are better people to interpret it than I am, but there's really nothing extraordinary in the report. It's unfortunate that it took so long to get it. As I read the letter that the firm gave to the board, dated, I believe, the 8th, if I'm not mistaken, 8th of March. It essentially is an unqualified report, and that's as good as you can get. So I'm good with that. I think we'll have a discussion about where we go for this next cycle, and we're going to have that discussion.
Understood. We had this transfer from Pacific Western to the LAIF account. Do we need to do like a vote on that, or?
I believe so, Jeff. I'll let you go.
Yes, please.
So just as a background, during our recent banking instability in the state of California, the district took a look at our accounts and we noticed that one of our accounts had more funds in it than was comfortable. So there was a conversation with the chair and the treasurer to make a transfer out of the operating account into our investment account in the amount of $895,000. So that is the action that was taken. We're looking to have that ratified during this meeting.
Okay, can I have a motion, in that line?
Move for that motion.
A second?
I'll second that.
Director Leach.
Aye.
Director Jeffries.
Aye.
Director Stanislas.
Aye.
Director Brown.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. And then we have a number of recommendations here. Would you like to speak to any of those, Terry?
Well, part of the discussions around this entire subject, about maybe keeping this from happening in the future was to have the flexibility of an additional checking account that would allow us to transfer some money still protected by FDIC out of our operating account, because it does go up and down. Even now, it's still above the protected limit. So, we'd be asking the board to consider having this open a second checking account.
Okay.
Just as a holding account, essentially, we wouldn't be writing checks, paying bills out of it.
It would just be to keep the main account under, what is it, 250,000? Okay.
In addition, in lieu of doing like a CD or that sort of thing, which is an option, but we wouldn't be able to have access to that if we needed to have it. That'd be the problem, so.
Yeah, seems like that makes sense.
And this only really could potentially become a challenge 4 times a year when we're writing significant grant checks. And so you have a large money that comes in and out
Yeah.
very quickly. And that's where some of those other investment tools can be a little bit more problematic.
Okay.
So I had the opportunity to meet with a group that does a lot of special district banking, a group called 5 Star Bank. They've been present and supportive of a lot of the CSDA, California Special District Association events. So that was one of the things we talked about briefly in the finance meeting. But it was a discussion to bring that recommendation here to make sure that if anyone else has a better understanding or a comfort with a different bank, that we also have that brought forward before we move forward at the next finance meeting.
We wanted to make sure that the full board had a chance to put their 2 bits worth in. If they have better ideas, that's okay too.
Sounds like a sound plan to me. Do you want a motion and a vote on that as well?
I would like to. I think the sooner we probably start that, we know that opening accounts is not always that easy. The 5 Star Bank, because they do work with special districts, we don't have to try to educate them on what kind of unicorn we are. And they already have the forms and such organized for us. So it is an easy process for us. Completely secured, risk averse, really no different as far as any other banking. It's just we wouldn't have a local branch.
Understood. Would you like to take that motion?
And would it be appropriate to consider whether on that particular account that it would take 1 or 2 signatures to pull money out and throw it into operating?
Yeah, we absolutely can set it up for however we want. We can have it mirror our current process exactly so that we don't have to worry about any, well, this account does this and that account does that. We'll have it mirrored.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Okay.
Question, Bill?
Sure.
Is this an interest-bearing account? And if it is, would it make more sense to do savings? Maybe get a higher interest? Just throwing that out.
It is pretty much the same as most checking accounts right now. There isn't a lot of interest to it. Can't really remember.
I don't remember the interest portion of it. It didn't have a large interest bearing on it, but I
What
do
we're
see.
really looking for is to have easy access
Right.
to that, for a savings account without looking into it. I would assume would have a limited number of ins and outs. I would certainly expect it to be a no charge checking account, given the amount of money we're gonna be putting in their bank, but.
Sure.
And I can bring all of the specifics to that to the next finance committee for sure. But we wanted to make sure that the board was comfortable with this process. We can push this to the next finance committee for the details if the board is approving the opening of an account.
Yeah. I'm good with it. Would you like a motion still? Or, yeah,
I
I'd
would
like
say
to make that motion.
I'd like to make a motion that the board approves the CEO to move forward to funding this an additional account at a different bank.
Sure. I'd second that. Any discussion?
Director Leach.
Aye.
Director Jeffries.
Aye.
Director Stanislav.
Aye.
Director Brown.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we have another recommendation for a new additional investment tool.
So we have, Terry, if you don't mind, I'll speak to this. So we have Bob Scholl on the line with California Class. This is again, a slightly new investment tool, but obviously I'll let Bob speak, but you had the marketing information in your packet to take a look at. We don't have to do anything immediate on this. We're seeing a lot of interest in this particular tool. It is, in my layman way, a good way to say it is a hybrid between the Cal Trust and the Lath accounts. As a point of history, we really hadn't looked at other investment options because the expectation previously was that the bulk of the funds from investments would be turned around and spent into the redevelopment of the property. Now that we're taking a slightly different tack to it, it might be a good time to consider parking those funds in an account, an investment account that could actually yield some growth, so we can earn some funds to redevelop back into either programming, building, or whatever for the future. And with that, if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and turn that over to Bob Scholl, who's with California Class.
Please.
You with
Thanks,
us, Bob?
Rachel. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, good evening to the board. I apologize. I was having trouble signing in on my computer, so I'm dialing in on my cell phone via Zoom. So we'll just do the best we can here. And I only really wanted to take just a couple of minutes, but as Rachel said, California Class is the newest local government investment pool in California. It's a JPA, Joint Powers Authority, local government pool that in terms of its structure is very similar to CalTrust, who you're familiar with. There's another local government pool in California called CAMP. You might have heard that name before as well. California Class, actually, the pool itself is managed by Public Trust Advisors. Public Trust Advisors is the largest sponsor of local government pools in the country. We manage currently about $70 billion across 17 state pools. We also do some separate account or customized work for public agencies in the state as well. But the bulk of what we do at Public Trust is the local government investment pool space. California Class has gained quite a bit of attention, and a lot of it, quite frankly, was due to the timing of launching the pool. And just going back 1 minute too about the pool space, why California Class? Why was it launched a year ago? Primarily because there was a lot of demand across the state for another pool in California to provide another option to public agencies in the state. And quite honestly, the opportunity to further diversify short-term cash management. But the timing of the pool that I was getting to a minute ago was interesting for us because launching in May of last year, or the pool's been in place about a year now, we've been able to take advantage of the 11 or 12 rate hikes that came down from the Fed. And we've kept the average maturity of California Class, the prime fund in California Class, very, very short. The average maturity with California Class as of today is just at about 27 days. To compare that to Lath, and Lath is a unique animal run by the state, managed by the state. But Lath's average weighted maturity as of this morning was about a year. So we've kept the portfolio very, very short with average maturity, and we were able to take advantage of those rate hikes that occurred over the course of the last year. California Class is daily liquid. If we have trade instructions by 11 a.m. Pacific time, the money moves that same day. It's AAA rated by Standard & Poor's, has the highest rating possible for a local government pool like this that's available. The yield as of this morning, again, this gets back to the short-term nature of the portfolio and the short weighted after maturity, but yield this morning was just over 5%, 5.02%. So that just kind of very quickly is what we're doing with California Class. We've been very happy with the activity and the growth of the pool. We're at about $500 million currently in assets, and that represents about 53 participants currently. So that is the overview very quickly. It's the highest yield you can find in a local government pool in California currently. We also have the lowest fee structure as well. So we think that's an attractive combination for public agencies in the state as well. Lastly, we take a lot of pride at Public Trust, and we're known across the country for being very easy to do business with. We have a full-time client services desk in Denver where we're headquartered. They're responsive, typically get back to our clients in the same day. We've also been known for technology in this space. We've always been known for probably best-in-class participant portals. Before we launched California Class, we spent another, I think it was $3 million to further upgrade the California Class portal. So Rachel, that's kind of a high-level overview for the board. I'd be happy to field any questions. And again, I know Rachel shared some marketing information as well that I think all of you have in front of you.
Any questions from the board? No. Okay, well, thank you very much for your presentation. We appreciate that.
Sorry, it was limited just to audio tonight, but would be happy to participate in further meetings as well, so.
Well, and I think that we had discussed during a finance meeting that we would intro to the board, but that we would potentially follow up with you, Bob, at the next finance meeting to get more information to make sure that the board has a little bit more in-depth knowledge before we make any decisions. But we wanted to make sure that you had the opportunity to at least intro to the board, because this is a brand new process and a brand new thing for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Always happy to help going forward. So just let me know.
Great. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank you.
5%.
Yeah, no, that definitely seems like a good program for sure. So yeah, we're looking forward to hearing more about that when you guys get some more details there. So next we have, you have a recommendation to approve a contract for a new auditor?
We can make that motion and then we can have the discussion. How's that?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. I'll make the motion that the board consider hiring on Nigro and Nigro as its new auditors for this, at least this current fiscal period. And that's part of the discussion.
I would second that emotion. I would second that motion. Makes me very emotional.
Discussion.
So if any of you have had a chance to look at the proposal that Nigro and Nigro have given to us, it's one of three that Rachel got for us, and she did a great job of getting some good operators, it looks like. Their plan is the least expensive of the three, but in my mind, it happens to be just as good or better than the other two in various ways. I believe it's 15,000.
15,500, I believe.
15,500 for the a cost to do a 1 year to do an audit for a year. They're proposing that we enter into a 3-year agreement, and the rate stays flat at 15,500 for each of the year 2 and 3, which is different from the other programs, and that they were all increasing over subsequent years. They're here more locally. They're certainly just up the road in Temecula, I believe. Marietta. So the others are well out of the area. So it makes it easier for them to get to us or us to get to them if we're trading hard documents or people coming down to the site. I would like to recommend that we hire on Nigro and Nigro as our new auditors.
Understood. Do they have specific experience working with any special districts, or?
They have a plethora of accounts that they're our special districts, and they're very familiar with what we do.
Good deal.
I would also say not only is their proposal at 15 was low, we've experienced in other years where it's jackrabbited up.
Yeah, for the
As,
second year.
for the second and
Yeah.
the third year, more than the other two proposals, so I think it's good news that we have a steady, reliable cost we can budget for.
Yeah.
And in addition to their high qualifications.
Have they committed to a time frame to have it completed?
I think they did. That is built into their proposal, and it looks like they're proposing to, assuming our fiscal year ending at 6:30, they are looking to be able to have, report within 90 to 140 days. And that is in the proposal, so that's good as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, for sure.
Any more discussion? Okay.
Director Leach.
Aye.
Director Jeffrey.
Aye.
Director Stanisek.
Aye.
Director Brown.
Aye.
Thank you.
Facilities Committee, Director Jeffries.
Yes, we received a report on how the projects are progressing, and they're progressing. It was a status report, nothing new to report, but we did get a report that the extensive water did not cause any problems, and actually we fared very well. Looking forward to gutters on the house of wellness, but that was good news too, and I think that's a tribute to all the pre-work that Roy has done and cleared drains and all sorts of things like that, so on track for the projects that we've delineated.
Awesome, thank you.
And I would ask Barbara if she had a comment, but she's not here tonight.
Barbara did let us know that she was not feeling well. She was going to try to zoom in if she was feeling well enough, but that did not happen this evening.
Okay.
I have a question on the building of it. Did we ever repaint that building? The metal building?
I am actually awaiting bids on that right now.
Okay. I noticed when we were meeting over there last weekend that in the front, along the cement line, there's some rust areas and
Yeah.
stuff.
You'll
It's more
also see up
unsightly
at
than-
the gutter area, a lot of that is old water damage. We've had a painter come out and take a look at that. It seems to be pretty much just surface rust. It doesn't go through, but we definitely do need to get it repainted, and we need to have new gutters put on it so that we don't have that same water challenge. But I'm waiting for the bids.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, next up is strategic planning. So yeah, last month, we met, and the main thing that we discussed moving forward was we directed staff to move forward with the foundation paperwork and kind of get that going. I think it's been a kind of ongoing discussion, and we've kind of had it on the back burner for a number of years, just kind of because of the COVID, and we kind of discussed some of the benefits of potentially getting that going, and kind of directed staff to move forward with the paperwork and going forward with that. So that was really it. Obviously, we have that strategic planning special meeting coming up. So I'm sure that we'll have a lot to come out of that. So that's it for strategic planning. Governmental and public engagement, Director Stanisek.
Yeah, we continue to look at all of our touch points out there, gathering a lot of information from the various parties. Going through the grant process was very good to see how the different partners actually do market themselves through us and with us. I think there's opportunity for some more of that to go on. Looking at developing and reviewing some of the vision and mission statements and helping out with the strategic planning side of that too. We have some proposals I'm working through. Rachel and I have spent some time walking through a lot of different posters and historical documents to try to raise the level of understanding of the historical, how we got here, when we got here. So they're just diving into a lot of the nuts and bolts, working with Teresa's team as well. We've had a couple of attempts at meetings, but we're gonna get one done. So a lot of good stuff going on. I think there's a lot of opportunity to just do some clarity, and it'll help address some of the misconceptions that exist. And I'm excited to kind of keep that moving forward. So, and we got some good community events coming up.
Lots of them.
Yeah, it's good stuff. That's it.
All right. Thank you. Next we have Rachel.
Uh,
report.
luckily, again, by the time you guys get to me, we've talked about most things that are on my report. So again, facility, we're still working on drafting up the scope for the parking lot repaving bid. So that is still also in progress. Obviously, we talked about the painting for the education building. I am working with an architect right now to get at least some initial information so we can start to get a bid put together to bring the house to full ADA compliance. Because that's going to take a little more work than there might have been some initial thoughts around. So I'm waiting to just get some initial information on that before we move forward with anything. And of course, obviously, I'll bring that to the facilities committee. The education buildings, room 1 and 4, classrooms 1 and 4, those are the first ones on both the west and the east side. Those are now 100% done. So they have their flooring, they have their lights, they have their paint. So those are set. Exterior lighting will be installed on the building in the next week or so. The current lighting, we have tried to put all the pieces together. I know Roy has worked on them and we've had someone else. This time we're going to have them actually wired in with a timer so that they're coming on dusk to dawn on all sides instead of just running off certain battery power and such. Teresa is currently working with Jim's Sign Shop to get some signage put on the education building. So that we'll have a little bit better wayfinding to that property and to that site. Moving on to grants, obviously, last Saturday, we had our special meeting with our grant awards presentation. Again, I want to thank the board for the amount of time that it takes to go through those applications and really put in some due diligence on finding those programs that you're willing to support. I know our community is supportive of that as well. Now that you have made those decisions, Raquel and I will get back to scheduling out some more site visits and check presentation for the remainder of this fiscal year. So our current set of grantees. We will do a big check presentation in July when it's time to actually do the next set of grant presentations. So we'll have all of our grantees coming forward back in July. Administrative projects, the budget chart of accounts is reviewed from finance. So you'll see a new set of financials in July that will be hopefully a little cleaner and that will also mirror our current operations moving forward. I did speak with the auditor about this particular change. There was no challenge to them in any way about how it looks and or that change from the second year. To them, that was not even a blip.
So
Very
it's a format that we're looking, format change that we're
Yeah,
looking at.
yeah.
That's good news.
Our money still remains the same. so-
Money still stays the same, we're just gonna track it in a more clear way. Board self-assessment, I'd like to thank you all for fitting in your board self-assessment at the same time you were going through grants, you know.
And it was cruel.
That was cruel.
We don't plan to be changing the board clerk again anytime soon, so we'll be able to keep that what was on its original schedule. So you'll typically get that more at the, fall, winter start season instead of the winter.
How frequently, every other year?
This one we have to do every 3 years. Was that the certification? Yeah, we're doing it for certifications. We will likely do it again next year because that will be the first time this board's had a full turn to sort of work together.
Good.
Yeah.
I had to say things like, I don't know yet.
Yeah.
We're in a team.
Yeah, but that's okay. Now you'll know what the questions will be next time. Updated policy manual. I've already reached out to Jeff. Our policy manual is, has a lot of really old things in it right now that are no longer relevant. So I'm working with Jeff to get an updated policy manual for the board. As you may recall, we did the same thing with the employee manual a couple of years ago. You start clean, you make sure you have all the current and updated. So Jeff and I will be working with that, and then obviously Raquel and I will continue to keep that moving forward. LAFCO has let us know that in theory, this year, we will have our municipal service report, our MSR. We're listed, and I say we, all of the health districts will be receiving their MSR reviews at the same time. We're priority 6 on their list. So we can expect that they'll probably reach out to us for information sometime in this calendar year.
So as a newbie, what the heck is that?
Right. Well, it's still essentially new to LAFCO and to everyone else as well. They started doing MSRs for the health districts 5 years ago. And Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that was the first time Fallbrook had an MSR. And essentially what LAFCO does is they come in and they make sure that we are abiding by our role and our relevance. Are we putting the district's funds toward the right kind of services and programs that they're supposed to be? Are we following the rules? And are we being appropriate in our expenditures? Jeff, anything I missed on that one? Or are you good?
No, I just think that it would probably be helpful to send the 2015 MSR to the board members. It's a lengthy document, but I think it'd be helpful for you to understand what the process is and what the significance of it is. And I think there's a lot of good information in there that will, we all got good grades, all 4 of the healthcare districts. But I think it would be helpful for you to see the overall perspective, and it is a little bit different now because at that time we were still in the hospital business, and we're no longer in the hospital business, so we're going to be looking at it a little bit differently this year. But I think that would be useful to do that if you would.
Yeah, I'll put that in your board portal so that you can access that. It is on the website as well, but I'll drop it into the portal so you can find it a little easier. Strategic planning workshop is May 20th. Currently the agenda items are listed below, but as chairs of various committees, this is also your opportunity to make sure to bring forward those topics that will fit into our long-term planning so that Bill and Barbara can bring that into the next sets of meetings. Okay, just a lot of head nodding. Make sure you all got that. And then regarding public engagement, we have 2 community forums, public forums, May 4th and May 6th, from 5:30 to 7:30 on that Thursday and from 2 to 4 on that Saturday. Because these are public forums and not necessarily public meetings, it's obviously nice to have the board there, but I do need to make sure that you let me know when you're gonna be there so we don't inadvertently create a quorum. So if you plan to come, we can either split your time if you want to be at both days or something of that sort. So just let me know which ones you'd like to attend.
Will you send us some specifics with regard to that? Where and all that kind of stuff?
It's gonna be at the Community Health and Wellness Center on May 4th from 5:30 to 7:30, Saturday, May 6th from 2 to 4.
I think you guys sent out a calendar invite already, right?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah, but it may be that, let's say, Bill, you wanna be there from 5:30 to 6:30, and Mike, you wanna be there from 6 to 7:30. Okay, now who do I have fill in the others? Just that little shell game that Raquel and I will play with you.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Awesome.
Appreciate it. That's all, that's enough from me.
All right, thanks, Rachel, appreciate it. Next we have our general counsel, Jeff Scott.
Thank you, Bill. Good evening, everybody. Just a quick note to let you know that we are on track for with what the board directed us to do last month concerning the urgent care property. I just sent Rachel a request for wiring instructions for the district to receive the $100,000 pay down on the note. And we should be receiving that within the next few days.
Good news. Very good.
That's all I have.
Yeah. Awesome.
So you've got a little extra money to spend on some of these upcoming programs you're going to consider.
Thanks for that, Jeff. We always like to hear good news. Thank you. Awesome. So we're moving on to discussion and possible action items. The first one is, the possible creation of a youth sports grant process and to discuss a funding amount. As a board, we kind of discussed this, maybe a few months back. I guess just the general idea of it, from, my standpoint, I've seen a lot of benefit for kids getting involved in sports. You know, there's definitely a physical and there's a mental benefit that the kids get from getting out there and getting involved in different sports activities. And I think that this is one of the areas as a health district that we can really make an impact. So just bringing that forward, looking to you know, I guess get approval from the board to kind of move forward with that. Rachel, did you have anything on that or?
Other than, after we initially discussed it, I did reach out to a few of the different, nonprofit youth sports groups, to find out some general interest. So far, everyone was pretty positive about the concept of it. Not really a surprise there. I did speak with Jeff to make sure that we, would be within our ability to do that. We'll have to create a template grant process that these entities would apply to, and then they would have a form that their families, their kids would have to fill out so that we can keep track of that. I can do all of that, and I would bring it forward then to strategic planning to follow it like we do with the grants process. But I wanted to make sure, obviously, like Bill, we want to make sure that the process is easy, but we want to make sure the board is supportive of it. And for a budget process, what do you all want to fund it to?
Yeah, what would we be talking about? What do you think? Is it a pool of money that we're gonna have a pot and then it's an individual application?
No, so what we would do is we would essentially, let's say we're going to allocate $25,000 to this. Each of the sports groups could apply for, we'll keep it easy, there's 25,000, we'll say 5, I don't do math unless I have a spreadsheet. So let's say they each get 5,000, right? So this group would say, I'm gonna get $5,000. We would provide those funds, then they would have to provide back to us the application of the kids of how that money was spent.
Okay.
Right, so their application to be able to go into the pool would look just like the grants you saw. We would spend it on this is the expectation of cost we would have.
Okay.
And Rachel and Bill, too, how many formalized, I guess they have to be nonprofits like Pop Warner, right? How many of those do we have in our Bonzo, Duluth, Rainbow and Fallbrook area? Is it more than 10? Is it?
Well, I reached out and found out about 6, and that was doing the informal without actually submitting it forward. I think that we're closer to 10 when we do the full scale, but I don't have all of them yet.
Okay, so these are non-school based.
Correct.
They're not for profit.
Correct.
Okay, and then the expectation is that if the individual groups would decide, one group might say, we are gonna upgrade our equipment. That is our dire need. Another group might say,
No,
I think that the money is just supposed to be just specifically for dues to get new.
new kids in. So we're expecting a growth factor here.
That would be the idea.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. I like that the money will go to expanding, not just sustaining.
right. The idea is to allow more kids who potentially aren't able to enter into these groups because of the fee to join it.
Okay, and we're gonna count on them to make that determination.
Right, there will be essentially the entity or the families would self-certify that that there is a demonstrated fee.
Okay. I'm liking this. I love it that it's going to build.
Yes, yeah.
Good. And that's girls softball, boys softball, all of that kind of stuff.
All.
Okay,
Yeah, it has to be equal to any and all youth sports.
great.
And I think we decided it would be youth 18 and older, right? So if you turn 18 in your senior year and you're still in the league, you can play, but
Yeah.
as soon as you're 25, you're out. I'm just being
That's when their health insurance gets cut off from their moms. Dads. Okay, sounds great.
Do we have, public comments on this?
Yeah,
Yes,
my name is Thea. I'm the president of Fallbrook Youth Rugby, and they'll just reach out to me and let me know you're all getting together. I'm a mom who kind of just barely took over this organization. It was awesome, first of all, to sit in a very formal board meeting, so that I'm like, okay. But, as far as a representative, I was also on the Pop Warner board last year. I had kids and pretty much tried every sport through. I would venture to say there are easily more than 10. One of the things that I would think would be a really helpful need when you talk about the growth factor, we have a huge kind of roadblock with advertising our sport. So, and I'm so sorry, I'm not 100% sure like what you all cover versus what the schools, because I sat in for a health or a facilities meeting for the schools, and they've got like an after school program that's also talking about investing money and getting like Potter kids who can't do anything after school. They're just kind of sitting at boys and girls clubs out playing a sport on the field instead of and doing that. But the other issue is that for Pop Warner, for rugby, we're having to go around and like stick dirt signs wherever we can find, and we lose a certain amount of money where people just steal them to use them for graffiti or this and that and stuff. I think that for both of those programs, we have had money for scholarships and told families we have some money, and we would be grant writing and definitely asking, and do have processes to determine which kids need it. But we need kind of help with engagement. I can definitely speak for rugby because our budget kind of covers the bare minimum of that. But when we spend X amount of dollars on signs and they walk away like a month later, that's hard for us. When we put something on Peach Jar, and then when we, in our registration, like, how do you hear about us? We don't hear much about like flyers in school. It's always friend, or I saw a billboard or something like that, that if the board would consider some way of helping us with the growth factor, because a lot of us are just parents doing the best we can. You all have so much more knowledge and resources to maybe help us with that. That would be extremely helpful to us as sports programs. And then also potentially when we talk about growth factor, bringing in other sports programs that haven't necessarily been able to thrive. Like at one point we had a lacrosse program. When the director of the lacrosse program kids aged up and out, that kind of just fell away. And we've got like another small group of parents like, well, we want lacrosse. So how do we bring that into having community events or forums to maybe be able to talk about that with you guys, creating new and the best way to go about it, or those of us who are not familiar with all these processes to be helpful.
Yeah, we can bring a lot of that education piece into our center advertising and push through that to join that. The specifics of how the funds can be put towards advertising or such, I'll reach out to the different groups and kind of let you know. Once the district builds its application, we'll start to decide from there how the funds can and cannot be used. So that'll be brought forward to you, but we can definitely work and partner together, I think, on public engagement easily.
Awesome, that would be a huge help.
Absolutely. And then Ricardo Favela is also on the line, and he has his hand up with a comment. If you're
Absolutely. How are you doing?
Good. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. So today I'm wearing my Fallbrook Girls Softball hat. I am a board member for Fallbrook Girls Softball. And yes, I would like to echo the same concerns as far as just advertising and getting new players to sign up. I know at this point, if we were to get any type of reimbursement or to help cover costs, it would primarily go to parents and families that are already playing, and we know can afford to play. But one of the things we've done in the past to advertise has been through Peach Jar, which goes to all of the school districts. And it is a bit costly, but we did see growth when we tried it once. But we've been hesitant to do it again because of the cost. But so I would have the same question if the funds could help with promotion and advertising as well. We know that would get us new players.
Sort of the clarity of just question is, so I'm hearing advertising as in growing. How do we grow this? Is there a gap for the people that want to participate that can't? Is that part of this as well?
Yes.
So it's a combination of both things in terms of supplementing people that want to do it but can't, and then people that don't know about it, get them in.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're wrestling with, okay.
Yeah, I mean, and as far as some of the comments go, for the public comments, just understand too that, as a public entity, like, we take tax dollars, so we have a lot of regulations about what we're allowed to use the money for and what uses it can go for. I definitely understand like what you guys are saying as far as the, public relations go. I think that's a problem for every organization in town. I think that we have that discussion like all the time, just even for us. But you know, one thing that we're looking to promote is again, like within the parameters of being a health district, is to get kids to be healthy. You know, we talked a little bit earlier about the prevalence of diabetes and pre-diabetes in our population, and it's a big deal. So, you know, to me, the biggest thing that we can do is get more kids out there. You know, I think that, you know, some of the advertising bit, I mean, I think that if we create this program and we start talking together as nonprofits and a government entity, we'll get some of that buzz out there. I think that, you know, people notice, hey, like this is what they're doing, and hopefully like we get some people that say, hey, there's funds available and now maybe my kids can play.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would be like one of the biggest things for me is to kind of get more people out there. With that said, I mean, I would make a motion to set aside 25,000 for the first year and start creating that process through strategic planning as far as the application process, and you know, working with Jeff to hone in on exactly what is allowed to be funded, and you know, kind of set some program goals as far as that goes, and go from there. So that would be my motion.
I'd be happy to second that motion.
Awesome. Any discussion?
So, could we make sure that Jeff gives us some clear guidelines as far as pitfalls and things that we can't do with this, and then I'm more than happy to help advocate for it. Talking about advertising, one of the things that comes to my mind, and I know that it's totally taboo, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it anyway. Church bulletins, you know, in the church that I go to, we have a bulletin and there's all sorts of ads and stuff in there. That's a target audience, in my opinion. Because you have kids going with their families and stuff, and families read that kind of stuff all the time. So you look in the back and you see the mortuaries and all that kind of stuff. Well, it's nice to see something good in there that you'd be willing to. So there's some way that we could help in that kind of regard, but I just throw that out there. There's other ways to get the word out there, but there are plenty of ways to do it. And if we gave you money for one thing, which would not be that, you could take that money and you could put it in the church bulletin.
Right. For nothing, probably. Director Leach.
Aye.
Director Jeffrey. Aye. Director Stannings.
Aye.
Director Brown.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, so I'll follow with Jeff, obviously, to make sure that we're getting all the guardrails in place.
Yeah.
And then I'll bring a draft format to strategic planning with the expectation that we would probably be funding sports in the fall at the earliest.
Understood. All right, thank you.
Awesome.
So next we have H2, review of the outreach and communication coordinator position.
Well, that's timely, isn't it? The word out, right?
It always comes back to communications, right? So we discussed this obviously at the last board meeting. We took it back to public engagement to kick around and just look at it a little bit more. And we're bringing it back tonight because obviously, as you learn about the lifestyle change program, the programs at the wellness center, a lot of these new initiatives, what we're really seeing is the importance of getting dedicated, clear messaging out. So you already know my bandwagon and how I will stand on my box and speak, but Director Stanisek, I don't know.
I have said it before, I believe a focused person on this, not spread across many, will have much more impact and grow whatever we're trying to achieve faster. So I still remain supportive of that role. Whether it be a part-time start, full-time start, grow it, whatever it might be, but I think having a name and a dot in the box that says I own that, especially if we're bringing in a youth sports program or if we're bringing in additional programs, that doesn't come for free. So having a place to park it with objectives to communicate it is, I think, still very important.
Did we, end the partnership with, North County Fire for that shared position?
No, I'm not gonna pull the trigger on that, unless, you all won't pull the trigger on that unless a new position is authorized.
And that would be, that reduction in our support for North County Fire would come in our next annual budget cycle?
Correct.
Okay. Did you and your committee reconsideration of this idea, did you do anything with the job description? Did it stay the same? Expectations are the same?
Everything is essentially still the same. The only thing that we really discussed that would be any different is the possibility of, could this be a part-time? I'm not really big supportive of it with the amount of things that we have going on. The idea of trying to find a qualified person who would be willing to do this on a part-time basis seems unlikely, unless we try to go down a track that we've done before, which is try to hire some sort of consultant firm that does that. I think we're gonna lose that local push and connection to some of these things that we really want to get communicated to the public. So there wasn't anything to change it.
So would you want a motion for purposes of discussion, or how do you want to handle
We
it?
can do that, sure.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion that the board approves the outreach and communications coordinator position as presented last meeting for purposes of discussion.
Do we have the details on the salary and benefits, the cost of any of that?
Yeah, I think it was still in the packet, wasn't it? I think it was still in your packet.
Can you scroll down to that?
Was it in this packet?
Oh, no, it wasn't. Oh, it was in the last packet. I'm sorry. Yeah, can you run over to the, and while we do that, I know that we had a, Jennifer, you made the motion, but did we have a second for this discussion?
I'll second.
Thanks.
Sorry about that. Terry, do you have any thoughts from the, finance standpoint?
I would just want to make sure that we are really laid a plan that will give us some good results, meaning that we have some measurable criteria that is going to give us something that we could look at and see an increase in our visibility in a positive kind of a sense. And let me just say this, I know that Director Morose did have an opinion about this too, and I can't speak for her, but I know that she really had an opinion about it too. And I just say that for the purposes of, if you might want to move this off to the next board meeting, because I don't know that it's urgent at the moment to do it, but if it's a consensus of the board to move forward, I'm gonna go along with it, so. I think I'd like to maybe have the job description as I remember it. Expanded a bit, a little more defined, a little more measurable. Than what we have here. That would be the only thing I would want to do, but I'm okay conceptually with it.
Okay. Is it possible to approve this and then send back some of the documentation back to the committee level to just clean some of that up?
Sure, I think we can do that. The measurables were actually I didn't build this into it, but obviously we were gonna build upon the metrics that Teresa has been building out from the Wellness Center, the idea of engagement on places that we're going, touch points, social media, some of the growth that we're seeing in some of those pieces as well. Obviously, that's the part that's the most measurable. But we can build back other things, and anybody who's got ideas on how else we can add that, and I know Mike, you probably have some ideas on how we can track that better. Yeah,
I think there's an element of there's a marketing plan, communication plan on top of it, and then in terms of the metrics below that. So that's gonna be related to the strategic, so this all kind of ties together nicely, so happy to help whenever I can.
okay, yeah.
Let's
Right.
see any
So
other
do we
discussion.
understand that we have a motion, but it's on the condition that we have a little more depth in the job description and what we're looking from that position?
Yeah, I
We've
believe
had the
that, the general motion would be that we would approve the position pending, approval of the amended job description with those metrics built in.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
Good with you? Good. Okay.
Director Leach.
Aye.
Director Jeffries.
Aye.
Director Stevens.
Aye.
Director Brown.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we have here, so, next we have, item H3, fentanyl and Narcan education supplies, ongoing programming. I think we all know that, the fentanyl and the opioid crisis is, a huge problem right now. We've done a couple stats here, so it's the #1 killer for, young adults 18 to 45. There's over 100,000 deaths in 2021. And in 2020 alone, there was more deaths than the entire war in Afghanistan. So it's a major problem right now. There's a lot of the fentanyl coming across the border and getting into a lot of different drugs and different products. A lot of people are dying. We've discussed previously, we've had interest from people in the community to support more, prevention and more health measures. Also recently, the FDA approved Narcan for over-the-counter use. So obviously that's a good deal. I talked to Rachel about potentially getting, they're called fentanyl strips to test to see if it has fentanyl in it, so that you can know, hey, is this tainted with a potential drug that's gonna kill me? Just wanted to bring that back to the board. We discussed potential ongoing programming to support, both of those products, potentially getting them out there in the community and making them more readily available for people out there. Just again, hopefully try to make some sort of impact on this epidemic and do something that could make a positive impact in our community.
What kind of a vehicle do we currently have? Here
So-
at Fallbrook Regional Health District to deal with that?
So we have nothing, but we had this conversation and then fortuitous. Bianca had been out at a community event and made a connection to a group that is part of the San Diego Harm Reduction Coalition, right? We found a way to essentially kind of enroll ourselves under it. Through their funding from the county, they're able to get the Narcan and fentanyl test strips for free for distribution. By becoming a partner with them, we could then help to get that to our community partners.
Awesome.
So we are working to get that partnership agreement put together and then get some supplies. We were able to get first initial set of supplies. We have a scheduled training.
Event, yeah, in connection with, I believe, Bianca's already gone, but I think it's our wellness Wednesday event for, yeah.
I think it's June 20th or.
Yeah, where we'll do some education. We'll, show people, how to administer it, what you're looking for, and general, awareness for, drugs, in combination with that, so.
So the expectation is that we would serve as a train the trainer component.
Yeah.
So we could partner then with our nonprofit groups that are working directly in the public to make sure that they understand where they can get those supplies and to have those supplies on hand. There is a tracking, if you hand out the Narcan comes in a box of 2. So as they hand that out, it does have to be tracked of where it went. That is part of the participation in that. So we could help to get that cemented out into that process, and we can then become the main feeder from that large entity to us and then into our local partnership.
When you see CHW as a vehicle as well, like, you know, all of our nonprofits and grantees there.
I know the county's pressing this pretty hard, obviously. Are there any other programs that we're not taking advantage of or don't know about potentially? I have no idea, but I know there's such a big push on this countywide.
This is a partner with the county.
Yeah, it is
This
a partnership through the county. So the county makes some of the
So that
funds
is the
and
link.
things possible.
Yeah.
And then this harm coalition, harm reduction coalition. They're not causing the harm, they're producing the harm. They're the ones who are then, again, making that branch network. So you have that constant funneling.
And who are they? I mean,
It's a nonprofit, called On Point that received, put in a contract and received funding through the county to make this possible. They're based out of El Cajon, where obviously they're having a huge homeless and or drug abuse challenge going on.
anybody have any doubt that it's coming across the border with our influx of immigrants and refugees bringing it across the border with them? I mean, fentanyl is a new phenomenon. And it's really become a phenomenon and an issue and a problem, in my mind, commensurate with the increase in people coming across the border.
I would definitely agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a problem, and I think that a program like this or a partnership kind of allows us to kind of be at the forefront of you know, harm reduction and, you know, getting after the problem here in Fallbrook, because I don't see, you know, the county driving themselves up here to try to partner with our nonprofits and try to figure it out. So I definitely think that it would be a good,
I think it's our responsibility. I agree.
Absolutely.
I just heard on the radio today that schools are now going to be given Narcan on site.
I saw that too, yeah.
On site, so it's,
Yeah.
the alarm is up, the fire is lit, and hopefully we can be part of the solution.
And I've also heard there's apparently another variant that is actually.
Yes.
Narcan.
Yeah,
Yeah. that's-
another synthetic.
Yeah.
That is making somebody a lot of money.
So I would just, I would make a motion, to direct staff to, you know, continue that partnership and to, do what they need to do to kind of get that moving.
I second that.
Any further discussion?
Director Leach,
Aye.
Director Jeffrey,
Aye.
Director Staniston.
Aye.
Director Brown.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a couple more things here. So, next we have H4, continuation of the grant agreement, with North County Fire for the Senior Medical Services Officer. Yeah, I kind of asked to get this put on there just to kind of just try to figure out what we're doing with this moving forward. I've had a lot of questions over the last few months, really, for the whole time it's been a position, as far as what the position's doing for the district, how that's helping us as far as our greater strategic plan and what we're trying to do as a district. I know that we love to help North County Fire and, you know, like we like to partner with other groups. Obviously, like the ambulance replacement's a big thing. To me, that's one of the biggest responsibilities we have with them.
Yeah, I think we ought to be buying too.
Yeah, so I think that that's a big piece, but I just have a kind of ongoing question as far as how that position fits in with our operation. I think that from kind of being there when those two positions came about, I kind of I think that the board had more of the idea that they would be more kind of shared, like, you know, we're gonna use them, they're gonna use them. And I think it just, for whatever reason, it hasn't exactly worked out perfectly for that arrangement. Just hoping to have a discussion. I'm not sure what the board would like to do. We have that budget coming up soon and we gotta kind of figure out what we'd like to do with that. You know, like I said, I haven't been exactly pleased with the results. I don't know if, Rachel, if you have any, information or report on that or any of the services that she's provided for us, recently.
Nothing specific, obviously. I know that she has been a good partner to, Teresa and the folks out at the Wellness Center doing a lot of our, sidewalk CPR, and a number of different trainings that we've had over the course of time. We don't specifically have a lot of training events we use with her. It's more on demand.
But the fee remains though, right? Whether we use her or not, the fee remains, correct?
Correct.
So then,
Yeah, obviously Mary was integral to a lot of our COVID response in the early days and then ongoing. She was a great resource for us when we really needed to be able to have some quick answers on how to help folks understand what was happening. We were able to go to her. She was able to work hand in hand with the county in ways that we were not. So she has been that partnership and has been ready for when we're doing any kind of stop the bleed, sidewalk CPR.
Gonna do the Narcan.
Oh yeah, the Narcan training, and education, that will be part of what she brings forward as well, because obviously she's doing that training for North County Fire's teams.
This thing time limited?
Yeah, yes.
When does it expire?
It was a 3-year term. It runs through June of 2024 at this point.
Okay, so we have another year to live with it then, right?
Yeah, I mean, like any of our agreements, they can be terminated early if desired, but currently the term of the agreement is through June of 2024.
who directs her activities from our end?
Typically, I would have the most interface, but depending what's going on, Teresa or I reach out to her.
So do we see if in the future, 6 months, 12 months, a need or a gap that's presenting itself that she could fill that might be different than what she's done in the past? Or is it the gap's not there and it's actually shrinking? What would you be using her for?
No, I think it would depend on what kind of additional programming or education we bring forward. We have done that on an as needed basis.
Okay.
Initially, I think we used her a lot more for some of the sidewalk CPR because we didn't have as many programs running. As we saw less initial interest in the sidewalk CPR, we started doing those classes less frequently.
Yeah.
So now that we see and have resources for the Narcan, we're going to use her for that. She is always available and has been easy to approach. That has never been the challenge. It's just, when do we need her?
Is she an RN?
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Has she got any other initials after her RN?
some. And no, I don't remember what they are. She spent a great number of years in ER triage nursing. And then she came over and did a lot of the training for North County Fire, and she oversees all their QA programming there.
What we've tried to use it for, but just hasn't been able to quite push it through, is getting the CPR into the school district. That's something me and her have been working on, but it's a slow process.
CPR?
Getting it into the schools. So the idea being like in junior high and high school could be part of the curriculum on an ongoing basis. And then potentially get families more involved in learning CPR as well.
So, Rachel, extinguishing this formalized situation I have here, if we had called her and said, can you come do sidewalk CPR, would she have been available to do that?
Yes.
Okay, so having been at the initial whiteboard meeting where this vision was born, our hopes were so high, and we had, as you can see, very in-depth kinds of things we had hoped to see come about. And I will have to tell you, COVID followed very quickly on that and took her away, but into our arms for our COVID efforts. So we're not able to document, except for participation levels, how many her services aren't really trackable for us, and we had hoped they would be. But through, really, it's not a fault deal, it was a condition deal. I would support reviewing this sooner than later and asking the fire district what that would do to their budget, because it's an agreement we have with them. But we have upcoming considerations for the ambulance again? The social media part of our partnership, is that?
So we can terminate any of these agreements with a 30-day notice. I've already spoken with North County Fire about this when our communications position was first noticed. They have no problem being able to absorb Danny and would keep Danny into that because they've seen the growth and importance that position has gained for them. So that 30,000-ish that we do in that particular grant would roll back into our budget to support the offset of the student person.
Let me ask you, for us as a district, this might sound a little elementary, but are there any other licensed professionals with like MD or RN after their name that are really currently on our payroll, on our contract to us for any kind of service, consulting to the extent of advising us as a board about various things?
Yeah.
So what would you like here?
I just, I would be good with, the position moving forward if we could potentially try to get more out of it. I think that, there was a discussion about the AEDs out there in the community. I know that there's probably not a lot of people that are trained to use them. I mean, the CPR, some of the stuff, what are your thoughts about trying to get her out more? I mean, is there any possibility to get her out like,
Well,
10-15 hours a week? I mean, something
No.
consistent? No.
Probably not. We did the AED CPR training initially,
Yeah.
and we had a lot of really good responses. I mean, some of the classes were filled beyond capacity.
Yeah, and she even did through other events, we connected her and she's done churches and showed them how to use their AED and the Bonzel River, whatever, the Bonzel Shopping Center down there. She met with all the shopkeepers to show them how to use the AED that, I don't know where it's located, but it's in that business park.
Okay.
Yeah, so the AED training, she did a great deal of in the last, I'd say the last year. We've had her go and do heart healthy talks to like the Fallbrook Women's Club requested. We would have to identify what specific educational needs. I think with the Narcan conversation that we just had, bringing that forward, we could probably do something at least quarterly. And I'm just proposing quarterly because I don't know how our pipeline to supplies and all of that looks. It's not just about having her go out and do something. It's us organizing it and us educating about it. With the amended position coming forward with a communications person, that might be something that we can bring a little bit faster. Right now, I'm still working on the premise of how it fits into the current team schedule. With a communications person taking on a little bit more of that, we might be able to push forward more events.
Well, my sense of it is that the reason that the North County Fire does not have a big problem with letting us off of the hook is because they know they're using that person a heck of a lot more than we are. And they should feel guilty about taking our money. Quite frankly. That having been said, it does make sense for us as a board to be able to reach out and grab somebody with some real clinical knowledge to help us in some of these decisions, especially with regard to this fentanyl Narcan program. For us to have a clear-cut program that keeps us protected legally, but lets us do the good deeds that we want to do.
Yeah.
I think we need to be able to have access to somebody who can clinically guide us. That's just my view.
No, I agree with you. I think we have a position we need to define. There's a definition up there that may be still relevant, maybe some things added. I think you have to start with position and hours, and then that'll determine, what you need in terms of initials and costs. And what I'm hearing is there's still a need, but the cost load is too high. We're not using half. We're probably using a quarter or less.
Well, we need to probably ask for that half, and if they don't want to deliver, then that's when we say, we need to do something different. Thank you very much.
And then half finding it is back up to the descriptions up there. with additional programs like the Narcon training or AED expansion or whatever it might be.
Yeah,
So I think the role needs to be maybe looked at again as a redefinition
yeah,
and then funded appropriately.
yeah.
So, I would be good, I don't know, if we need to do a motion on this, but I would like to, maybe go back and see if we can get more out of her, you know what I'm saying? Is the cost, something that you have, available there? Is it, 80,000?
Yeah, it's a job share, it's 50% of whatever her, salary is. It will, when we first did it, it was about 80,000, I think it's a little more than that. I don't know off the top of my head, usually Kevin will give me an idea as we get closer to the next budget year. They have always been open and available, it's just we haven't had the opportunity to utilize. So I do want to make sure that it's clear that never has North County made it difficult for Mary to be available. It's just we have.
Load issue.
I understand that, I just think that, with the costs that we're spending, I mean, at close to 100,000, we're almost to the point where we could fund our own program or person or do something different on our own, and maybe that's something that we need to look at, you know, moving forward. I know that as a board, we've kind of been exploring, you know, some programming, and, you know, I think that would be something, definitely to discuss, moving forward, but, maybe at the committee level, we can start talking about, you know, more uses that we can get out of her, because if the only, thing holding us back is saying, hey, we need her out for more stuff, I mean, I would like to get more bang for our buck on that, and I think that there's a lot of, I mean, like Terry said, a lot of programs that we could use support with. But hopefully we can get a little bit more out of that, and then maybe we can come back in a couple months and kind of relook at it and see if anything's changed and kind of revisit that. So.
And maybe if she was made aware or presented with the fact that we want to get into, you know, the fentanyl prevention program and that sort of thing, she might come up with some ideas right then and there and volunteer to give us the time that we're entitled to. Then if she doesn't, then that can just go from there. I don't know this person, so I have, you know, no feelings about her individually, so.
And I would just note on the AED, it's been a couple of years, but, probably 2 or 3 years ago, I was at the Ingold Sports Park over there, and they have the AED. And I think that we provided it a number of years ago, and I had asked one of the staff there about it, and they said that they had never gotten trained, and that they never got the training component of it, and that it was something that was supposed to come later or something, you know. I think that that's a big, you know, blind spot for the community, like when there's activities like that, especially there's seniors over there playing, everybody should be trained, you know, so, I would say, you know, I don't know where we're at as far as the tracking of the AEDs that we've given out to the community, but I would be interested to kind of go back and see, hey, do you have trained staff that are available to use that, you know? The training's not that tough, I mean, I know I have my CPR and AED cert or whatever, so I mean, it took like 4 or 5 hours, it wasn't even that big of a thing or whatever, I mean, they're basically designed to be idiot proof and just push the button or whatever, you know, but, I would be interested in kind of looking back at that, and if there's some, expansion of that training that we can do out in the community, I think that would be definitely a spot that we should try to attack for
So
sure.
for clarity for me as a newbie, are we program managing AEDs?
No, we're not.
Okay, I want to make sure I understood that, so who
No,
owns
we
it?
funded
Funded
them.
placing, somebody owns the training,
Yeah.
somebody else.
Somebody else, so whichever site has the
Right.
AED in their place are responsible for keeping it maintained and such. Typically, I would assume, they may or may not be staying up on it independently in their own building or their own site. But they are all basically, put on the map, tracked, if you will.
You have to register it.
You have to register it, thank you.
Which they may not have. There's a site, and then you put in, you know, like the pads and stuff expire. When you register, they ask for all that information, and they'll remind you, you know, your pads are gonna be expiring. As long as you've taken that first step, and whatever email contact person you put in is
Right.
still with the company, you know, all the kind of details.
Yeah, but the site has to register that they have it. For example, we have ours in this building here, we have ours at the other. Teresa had to make sure it got registered. Judith had to make sure we had current supplies.
So yeah, I guess
So
we'll just,
did we do a program of some sort, or did we just say, we're gonna buy half a dozen of them and pass them out, and here's what you need to do and walk away from them sort of thing?
I don't know when they were purchased. That was, before my tenure, so they're at least.
I think it was before mine too, so I imagine it was quite a while ago. I just noticed it up there and asked somebody about it, which is why I found out the
And
information.
that person probably wasn't there when it was installed.
Yeah, I
That's the problem with staff turning.
yeah,
But it's, yeah.
but it'd be tough if we funded one and then we get to the
Oh, God,
point where
yeah.
somebody has to use it and.
It doesn't work.
Well, at my senior retirement community, we maintain 7 of the AEDs. The homeowners association paid for them, purchased them, and then my company, as the property manager, owner, we agreed to do the training on it and to keep the devices current, because you have to have them inspected, you gotta check the batteries, all that kind of stuff. And our job as far as training is we had to make sure that we had at least one person on duty 24 hours a day who was qualified to use it. We did a whole bunch of people. I had 150 employees. I wasn't going to train 150 employees because you just didn't need to, but enough people, the concierge at the front desk, for example, and a couple of others who would be there on a 24-hour basis to use it. But the question is, if someone's depending upon that device and either it fails or someone doesn't know how to use it, who's on the hook? Who could be on the hook? That's the question.
Well, we have them down at the Fallbrook Arts Center. And we assume that role. We're the property owner. So we assume the role for the AED and at the school as well. And I would think that's the proper locus of control.
Yeah, no, I think so, but I mean, I think that there is, I would agree, an element to like, hey, maybe we should go back. and
Refresh.
Make sure
Or
that.
refresh.
Yeah. We might not want to look underneath that rock if people haven't been either maintaining them or doing their training on them.
Yeah. Maybe what we can do is a renewal cycle, because if you don't know about them,
Yeah.
were you here when they were placed?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going back
Yeah.
10 years maybe. Maybe what we do is take this on in a more systematic way and invite everybody who has an AED, be kind of, I'll use the word nag. We can guide them and say, you need to do X, Y, and Z with your AED, and we're here to help you.
Yeah.
We'll arrange training with the North County Fire. I mean, we could view this as a renewal time.
Yeah.
Well, one
Because
of the questions, and I agree with you that if we're gonna go there, but what commitments, if any, did we make at day one when we bought the devices?
Yeah.
And handed them over, what
Nobody's here.
commitments did
Yeah.
we make, if any?
Maybe if we go back to, if we get any of that information, then maybe bring that particular element of it back to strategic planning, and then we can kind of figure it out from there. Ma'am, did you have a comment?
No, well, I was just saying that. No, nothing. I was thinking about AEDs for the sports program, like we have to use Potter late at night and sometimes everything's been locked up AED wise. And if you can find out with the youth grant project, if getting teams that are forced now, because that's one of the issues the school district has this new after school program where all of us youth sports are being pushed into the evenings. We're running really thin on having to borrow lights, and Fallbrook equipment rental has been really great about giving lights to the fields. But we don't necessarily have access to AEDs, and that's a big expense for us if in the grant writing, if it allows you to give AEDs to youth programs as well.
Well, you can't just,
But-
hand them over, you've got to be
Yeah.
able to have somebody who's gonna, on the other end, make sure they're maintained, the training is done, or what obligation, continuing obligation are we gonna have?
None.
And I don't want us to have any, quite frankly. I'm thrilled with buying the darn things and giving them to you with a bow on them, but I don't want any responsibility thereafter. It's your job. But if there's some kind of commitment or expectation on their part, oh, the Fallbrook Health District didn't contact us, they didn't follow up, or they didn't have somebody come out and inspect them. We use the Philips devices at my last community, which is the common one, but you gotta have training on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah.
And you gotta have it done by a qualified person, usually an MD, but not necessarily, but your people who use it have to be trained on a regular basis.
I'm an RN also, by the way, so everything you're saying I've heard, and all coaches nowadays with all the sports programs pretty much have to be CPR, AED trained and all of that. At least like, depending on the sport, a certain percentage. So the training and stuff is already kind of built into a lot of youth sports, and that's why I was gonna retract my comment and then kind of.
Well, if you're an RN, you're expected to know how to do CPR and that sort of thing.
Sir, did you have something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm going to offer this help. I do training once a month at my office. If you know of anybody who needs certification for CPR and AED, I do it for free.
Carlos, do you want to introduce yourself? Because some of us know you, but not everybody does.
My name is Carlos Perez, and I'm with the Foundation for Senior Care. I'm a board member there. Yes. Yeah, so I do training once a month. Usually do it for free for the community. And so the AED is part of the training. And I do certifications. The only thing that I charge for is the certification, which is about $15. And that doesn't go to me. It goes to the American Heart Association. So if you know of anybody who needs training, all they need to do is call me, call my office, and we'll take their information and then certify them.
Awesome.
Yeah, good deal.
And then I did have a comment from Julie Reeder, who put in the chat that she has written a piece for the upcoming source book on how important it is for North County Fire, with understanding the symptoms of heart attack after her own experience, and a map of where all the AEDs are in town. Almost every single household will receive the source book. So I will follow up with Mary at North County Fire. I can also talk with Kevin to find out what that AED process, and we can discuss what that process looks like. As far as training, we don't have any requirements from anything historically that I've ever seen come across the desk, but we can at least start to look at what's out there, right?
But you know, let me just caution you, once you take a bite of that, meaning once you go out to these places and go, I'm following up on your AED and I'm from the Fallbrook Regional Health District and we bought that for you, are you then renewing some expectation or liability? Jeff needs to chime in on this, because I'm feeling uncomfortable with either we're in for it or we're not. If we're gonna be in for it, let's have a policy, a procedure, a person who's accountable for it, and clearly defined expectations of what we're responsible for and what the person, because if Julie Reeder is putting in her paper that a bunch of places have AEDs, those AEDs better, number one, work, and number two, somebody better be able to use that darn thing without using our name in the process. That's my concern.
Yeah, I mean, I think that her deal is probably just provide the information as far as the registered ones. I know personally, I'm not saying to go to the places. I mean, I would just more like to look if we have in the records, or maybe if Jeff just remembers off the top of his head, just kind of the details of that. If we know what year, how many we provided, I mean, just, it would be good to know. I think that, you know, I'd agree with you as far as, you know, if we're looking at doing more of that, that would have to be a discussion through the committee level, then here as a discussion or action item or whatever. I think that we're maybe getting into a little bit of a can of worms on this one on a different item or whatever, but Jeff, I'm open if you have any comments on it, and if not, I can send it to the committee.
This issue, we got to go back, I think, about 25 years when AEDs became popular, and healthcare districts were providing AEDs, you know, basically purchasing them and then turning them over to organizations, and, you know, just like Fallbrook did. I'm not aware of any lawsuit, and there were literally hundreds of these AEDs that were placed by districts that I represent. And I don't know, I don't recall the specifics on this when we did this here, But, you know, typically you do it through a grant process and there'd be indemnities and things like that. But I want to assure you, from a liability standpoint, I think it's very, very minimal. Now, that doesn't mean that anybody can sue anybody for anything, okay? But we have adequate coverage through, SDR risk management, if this, in the unlikely event that anything like that would come up. So I feel very comfortable from a liability standpoint that it would be very minimal. So, but like I say, there were literally hundreds of these that were placed in various communities in San Diego County and over in Riverside for districts that I represented. And I don't think there was much follow-up. It was really up to the organizations to maintain them, to keep be certified to, they're pretty simple. They've got good instructions if you could never, but it is important to be able to at least have some training on them. But I feel we're in good shape. And I think what Rachel's proposing to go back and kind of survey what we've got is probably a good idea, just to kind of follow up on it.
I'll say, I know we're getting late here, but I'll shut up. There's an objective in here somewhere as part of this process. And are we granting to another organization to manage an AED program? Are we going to manage an AED program? Those questions first. And I know we're not, but I'm just saying. And then the third element of that is, if it's a need, do we find a third party that does this effectively and inexpensively and well? So I'm just, I think it's a need. I think it's something we need to understand. But I think it's part of the mix of all the programs that we've been talking, because these things pop in, pop out, and it's got to be under the umbrella. Yeah, it's something we're going to continue to support. If so, then how do we do that? And how do we indemnify ourselves and all those good things? So.
Jeff, did you have something?
No. I agree.
Okay. Awesome. So, I think we'll just send that talk back to the committee level, and, if there's anything comes of it, we'll just discuss it at that point or whatever. So, good. Moving on, we have, item H5. Looks like just a recommendation to transfer some money from the LAIF account. Terry?
Yes, I'd ask the board to approve, that particular item. That the board approve the transfer of $54,000 from the LAIF account to reimburse the operating account.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Director Leach.
Aye.
Director Jeff.
Aye.
Director Stephenson. Aye. Director Brown.
Aye. Do we have any board member comments or items for subsequent meetings?
Just really quick, I was able to go to the Boys and Girls Club open house.
Awesome.
My gosh, it was fantastic. There were at least 10 activity stations, all the way from the gym where they were playing basketball to a small group of younger students doing an art project. I saw over 100 kids in that facility at once. And every nook and cranny, parents were there. I heard a lot of buzz about the summer swim program and how happy they were that the Boys and Girls Club was doing it. So, right, okay. And also I went to the monthly collaborative meeting and met our new navigator, who is helping people find their way to what they need. And she's absolutely fantastic. Alert, getting everything in, going to different people at different tables. Very, very good selection. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Anybody else? I would just say, just thanks to the people who attended. Appreciate you sitting through this. I know it's a long meeting. Also, looks like we have a number of people that sat through the Zoom. We appreciate it. It's great to have the participation, and it's not always easy when it's a long meeting like this. So no more comments. Anything from staff? No. Okay. We have a number of upcoming meetings. They're listed here on the agenda. Love to have you come out and attend some of those if you'd like. And
maybe note that the strategic planning for April has been canceled.
Is that on here, huh?
Yeah,
Okay,
we
so,
decided that after that got.
okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So, so if you're planning on coming to strategic planning, here this month, you go ahead and cancel that and. Just come to one of the other ones again. So, with that, we'll go ahead and, adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Good job.
Good meeting. Got there a lot.
Good to meet you.